Sebastian Burton, Red Infamy, Derek Watford, and our special guest for this week, Gianni Maiorano.
What's up, Gianni?
Yeah, Sebastian, thanks so much for having me, Marcus. Appreciate the intro.
Yeah, last week we covered digital sales funnels. Sebastian led a masterclass on how to kind of find your target audience and bring them into your community and then monetize that community over time. But your expertise is more in direct sales, getting those one-on-one conversations. And as all of us have been talking the last few weeks, sales is something that esports struggles with. So we want to understand from you, a little bit about your background, how you got into this space, some key tips to establish those one-on-one meetings, just the guru insights that you have so we can share it with the ecosystem.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks very much. And I'll further clarify. So my name is Gianni Maiorano. I'm a consultant and business development manager. And my goal for any business relationship is to identify key stakeholders within an organization, identify where services can solve problems, which ultimately become solutions, and identifying those stakeholders in an organization that are needed to be brought together. And that is done either for bringing in one key player or multiple key players to a meeting, which creates a complex sales environment. Complex sales simply meaning multi-stakeholder sales, as opposed to a point of sale where like a vending machine or something like that. So that's a little bit about my background, and I specialize in the construction of online brand and fraud protection programs for Global 2000 and Fortune 500 companies, as well as the management and securing of corporate domain names and online digital assets so companies can effectively do business online. And I work with some of the largest video game companies in the world doing that to help protect brands that and are aware of, to help make sure that your content is the content that you're actually receiving. So I create and drive value around those conversations, build business and personal and professional relationships and to that end, create long-lasting relationships with my company and companies that I've worked for that create years-long success and drive overall value to both the client and my business. So to continue that, one of the things that I really wanted to highlight is the difference between business development and sales. They're often said synonymously, like business development, sales, what's the difference? Or they're said, I'm in sales, I'm in business development. So this is my 2 cents on the main difference. Business development is the creation of a process for a company to do business with you. When you're approaching an emerging market like esports, for example, I mean, look out there. There's startups all the time that have a new service, new product, new methodology, new way of doing something. And you're approaching companies that have no clue who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, where you're doing it, and they have no way of doing business with you, even if they wanted it, right? So there's no way to actually achieve that transaction. So business development is exactly how it sounds. You're actually developing the business in that company's ecosystem. So if you're looking for a potential sponsor, for example, you're identifying the people that in that company that would actually care about your product, service, whatever it is that you're offering. Sales is the effective transaction of that process, the management of going from nothing, building the bridge of trust, building the bridge of service, identifying the problems and solving them. And that is my vantage point of difference between business development and sales. So when I'm in business development mode, that's when I'm looking to try to figure out how a company is doing business. What do they care about? Who are the major players? What have they done in the past? What do I project that they're going to do in the future? What is it that they have spent money on already? Those kinds of things are identifying where you can create a long-lasting process to do business with a company. Then when I'm putting my sales hat on, I'm trying to actively engage with those people to build a bridge of trust. You're building a bridge of trust when you're in sales. If you're not effectively building a bridge of trust, you are not effectively selling. And it doesn't matter what it is that is at the other side of that bridge, whether it's a sponsorship, an investment, a service, whatever it is. If they don't trust you, they're not going to give you their money. They're not going to sign off on what you're proposing. They're not going to introduce you to other people, and they're certainly not going to refer you to business. So when I'm in sales mode, I look at myself as an equal sign. I want to be that threshold of what we have and what will be with my words. And that is the power of sales and what you must learn how to do in sales, because all we have are words. Sure, you can do certain things, maybe a proof of concept. Hey, let me show you my demo platform, whatever it is. But ultimately, if you're not effectively building trust through dialogue and as many consistent deliverables as you can, your actions will be, it'll be a challenge for you to overcome many, many sales hurdles. Certainly love any feedback from the panel on some of that, or thoughts on that. And we can keep chatting about that topic if you'd like.
Well, the Andy Plex says, well said. He's coming from Twitch. So the gamers understand it. Okay, well, your brother knows then. That's well said.
Hey,
Now,
Gianni, real quick, can you go ahead?
I was just gonna say I'll double down on that. Yeah, it's about that trust, right? Like trust is, like you said, Marcus. I was talking about like funnels, which is building a long-term customer relationship, and this is kind of direct. And still, trust just fits in both of them. Like, they gotta know you, they gotta like you, and they gotta trust you. You gotta rate that 1 to 10. And if you're like 7 or below, you can have a tough time. But if you get up to 8, 9, I mean, the sales will start flooding in. So I love the way you broke that down, and I love the split between sales and business development, because sometimes that line could be a little hazy. So
it can be, and I hear it all the time. And I hear people say, like, I'm in business development, and then I talk to them, and it's like,
the sales pitch.
No, you're not. Or the other way around, So, one of the things that you said about an 8 or 9 on trust, that's like that's called, I've heard it referred to as intravenous. Like, you go to your doctor, you're like, just stick it in my veins, right? Like, whatever the doctor says, like, you trust that person. You don't even have to like your doctor, but if you trust them, you'll just hook it in. And when you get to that 8, 9, or even 10, this is how the conversation goes. Hey, Sebastian, there's this thing. You're going to want it. Okay. That's it.
Give me 2.
I'll take 2. And actually, I'm going to call Red up. I'm going to call Derek. They're going to want this. And then you can see the IV of what you've said permeate the veins of all the people in your network, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then building trust. A lot of people probably right now are like, oh, I'm trustworthy. That's great. You probably are, right? But how do you build trust? Okay. The first step to building trust is to listen to people. I know that's ironic where I'm just talking, but you listen to them. You listen to what their problems are. You listen to what their situation is. You actually listen. You don't wait for your turn to talk. You listen and you try to match up what it is that they're saying with what their real life is. Then you make sure that you understand. That is the first thing that you can do to gain someone's trust, because that's your first interaction with them. The next is to provide consistency across whatever deliverables you can provide. So these are in the forms of keeping your meetings on time, setting an agenda. I'm telling you right now, people do not set agendas for meetings. Set them. Have one, and we'll talk about the power of that later. However, if you create a world around someone that's transparent, understanding what's expected, is honorable of their time, and you're consistently showing up your little micro deliverables, they will trust you that when they take that leap of faith onto whatever bridge you're constructing, that it will not fall through, and they'll in fact walk across it to get to the better way of doing things in their life. So that's why trust is important, and how you build it. And I don't know what you're doing. However, I do know that you are talking to someone in your life right now, and you can seek a better way to understand what they're doing. I know that for a fact. So start doing that. If you're not, if you're already doing it, keep doing it. If you're great at it, don't ever forget to do it. So that's how you start with building trust. And then when you get people to like you, that's because every time they leave a conversation with you or they get content from you, they find it valuable, and it actually makes them feel better about their life situation. It may not even help the problem you're trying to solve, but if they leave a conversation with you feeling better, that's when you get someone to like you. And that can never, if you have both, you have yourself a client and friend in perpetuity. And those are a couple things I'm sure everyone on this call has heard 1,000 times: like, trust, like, trust. How do you do that? That's how you do it. those are starts.
I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I keep hitting the money sound because these are all money advice. I think our audience can hear it, but I don't know if you guys can. So I just want you to know, every time someone drops a gem, I drop the cash register, ching, and let me see if I can bring it close so you guys can get some of this audio because you guys need to hear this. You hear this?
I just throw money around. I just hear it.
All right. So that's what it is. That's what you keep hearing, the cash register.
Yeah, I got this gold. I'm gonna. So when Marcus and I met, this was actually the beginning of the pandemic. We hit it off like beyond belief. It was crazy, like real brother from another mother type stuff. And he was talking about Mario 3, and I was like, "Well, I happen to have my original Legend of Zelda. Andrew, This is yours. This is your copy from when you were 5 and I was 3. This is it. This is the one. Huh? You like that? Very shiny. So that's the gold I keep around. Is this? So one of the things that I know people struggle with in general is starting a conversation with someone new. That is probably one of the most difficult things, and especially in today's age. Like, how do you start a conversation with someone new? This can take many forms. I would say the most crude form of it is just picking up the phone and randomly calling someone random, all the way up to the sniper. You know exactly who the person is. You know exactly that's the person you need to speak to. Like if I wanted to, talk to Marcus, about something, and as the CEO of MetaArena, and I know that he's the person I want to speak to. How do I get to him, right? So these are the two extremes. Okay. So the first, if you're going to be doing, the less research you have, the less direct you are, I highly recommend when you're doing cold outreach to do so on a fact-finding endeavor. Your goal when you're calling someone is not to set a meeting. It is not to pitch to someone. It is not. If you do that, you'll probably end up getting a lot of meetings. You're probably very persuasive, very congenial. You will get the meetings with the wrong folks. You'll start you're fishing with the wrong lure. So if you don't know anything about a company, your goal is to find out more about that company. So you reach out, and you'll reach out to Sebastian, and you'll say, "Hey, Sebastian, my name's Gianni, and I was hoping for some help. I'm looking for," and then you say what it is. And you'll find that you start a conversation with someone. That's like the most basic version of this. When you have more information, you start your outreach by providing something first to them. You have to give something to someone before you can get something from them. That's how exchanges work.
That was the discovery drop, right? Was that what we
yes.
call it, discovery? Yeah. I just want to say, I know in my post on LinkedIn, I had said, and on Facebook, wherever I posted pretty much everywhere. And everywhere I said, you've helped my bottom line for GSG. And that's the exact tip I'm talking about. That's the exact tip. Like, understanding, like, you're in the discovery phase. You have to just open a conversation and just be able to, like, connect with the person and see if there's even a match, so that you're kind of limiting, you know what I mean? Like, because everybody can do outreach and just get a bunch of people. But if you can really start narrowing down the conversations, you just become more efficient. It's like being more efficient jump shooter. So I definitely would advise you run that back, play that back again, because it's definitely changed everything about the way I approach leads and everything. So love it.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, and when you're in the identification of like the construct of a business, let's just say you're targeting somebody to have a new sponsor, right? You don't know anything. You just know that you want to get, I don't know, whatever financial institution to sponsor you, right? You don't want to call like a security analyst and up and start pitching like, "Hey, would you like to, blah." That's not it at all. So you're researching the company. They're publicly available. Sponsorships are something that these companies want to brag about. They want to show the world that they're sponsoring. So you can find out who's involved with that. Use LinkedIn. Use the company website. You'd be amazed at what's on there. If you look at a company's annual report, I'm not kidding. It's public information. They post 200-page annual reports. You can Control F sponsor. I'll bet you, pull one up right now. I don't know what you're doing. Pick a company, pull up an annual report right now, and Control F sponsor and see what you find. And if you find nothing, I apologize. I would be surprised. Maybe that's not the company for you, though. In the annual reports, they talk about where they're putting money, who they're doing business with, what their finances are. All these different things are all there, and they're comprehensive reports. So you look at in that company what it is that you're trying to do, then you reach out and you can say something like, "Hey, my name is Gianni. I'm hoping for some help. I'm looking for the people that handle sponsorships or investment for such and such a thing." And you might
they even have a database website. I forgot what website it was, but they even have like a website where you could kind of just map out who's doing specific sponsorships for whatever like industry you're in. And
I'm
like
sure
you
that,
could just search the industry and it just shows a group of a whole bunch of different companies tailored to what you need a sponsorship for. I forgot the database, but it is in existence for sure.
Is it something that you could look into? Would you be able to find it and share it with Sebastian to get to the folks? Is that?
Yeah, I could find it. I just know it exists. Like instead of like going to each company and trying to find those financial reports and everything, there is a website. I forgot what it's called, but I'll be able to send it. But there is a such thing where there's like a database where you can like search companies for their like to get them to sponsor you on different industries and stuff.
We got Tyler Rising coming in from LinkedIn. Sorry to interrupt, but Tyler Rising from LinkedIn. That's 3 platforms I've chimed in now, saying any school district plus strategic plan plus .pdf. So that's a gem right there for you. Any school district plus strategic plan plus PDF is going to look up. Tyler, you want to explain a little bit more about that as we continue?
Yeah, it seems like that's like the school version of
what. Yeah, basically of what you're saying, like the school version. But I just kind of don't. It's not. You're re-explaining for me, Tyler. They all probably get it. I need layman's terms.
That's what it's called. A sponsor pitch. Sponsorpitch.com.
Sponsorpitch.com. Gem again and again. Sponsorpitch.com. And Tyler's gonna drop some more gems. Gianni, you're hot right now. Let us know. Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly if you're looking for a specific company, if you're focusing a specific company, digging into that one company, if you're looking to even where to begin to start prioritization, that is another element that you should absolutely be looking at. So when you're going to these pages and you're prioritizing, identifying who your ideal business relationship is one of the most important preliminary planning steps that you can do when you're trying to build business relationships. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. One of the other aspects of getting people to like and trust you, and this is a big one, and I'm sure that you've seen it. I mean, I've seen it from this podcast, this group. I've been working with Marcus and Sebastian now for the last year, is passion, enthusiasm. If you do not care, if you do not have the zeal, the vigor, the gusto behind what you're doing, like, I don't know if you've seen, some of the pitches that are out there right now from some of the folks on this podcast. I just I want to hear more. Like, I just can't help it. I just want to listen. Like, I want to be like, okay, what is going on here? And when you do those kinds of things and you show that you are passionate about what you do and you speak with that kind of enthusiasm, it's contagious and people like that. They feel good. That goes back to feeling good when they leave you. And then every time they come back, you get to bring them back to that environment of passion, enthusiasm, and getting people to feel motivated to do business with you, because people like to do business with enthusiastic, passionate people. That is a fact of business. So that is one of the main things. Like, whatever you're doing, I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs on the call. I'm sure everybody feels very strongly about what they're doing. Let the world know. That doesn't mean that you have to be, defend it when you're, you have to listen to constructive criticism in a meaningful way. However, be staunch about what it is that you're doing. So that's one thing that I really hope folks leave with, is be passionate, enthusiastic about whatever it is, whenever you're in a position to be, to have those kinds of conversations. I remember the first time I talked to Sebastian, I was like, 75% was above my head because he's such a specialist, and I couldn't listen enough. I couldn't stop listening to him talk to me. The enthusiasm and passion.
No, it's like, did you play God of War? Or did you not play God of War? Did you not play it, or you did? You know about Kratos, or you don't? Okay.
I know about Kratos. He's a buddy of mine. Actually, my brother got me God of War 3 for my birthday once. Fun fact.
Better have played God of War. You about to get threatened. You about to get threatened.
Another element of trust, of building trust. Okay, and this is one of the tips that, you know, I'm putting together some thoughts for, let's call it a short book. This is something that I have not seen in any reading I've ever done, and I've never announced it publicly. So I am take this for if you'd like.
Exclusive.
Okay.
Yeah, you about to drop an exclusive?
No, this is an exclusive. And anybody, I'm sorry, Marcus.
I said exclusive gems on the Eat for Life podcast.
Yeah, there's going to be a whole section on this, and it's building that bridge of trust. Okay, so another way to build trust with people, as you may know, is through common experiences, right? Like, did you play God of War? Yes. Okay, we can build from that because you're talking about something that you understand together. You don't need to take any leap of faith. I played God of War. I played God of War 1, 2, and 3, and then the 2018 version. I played it on easy because ain't nobody got time for all those deaths. Now, I'm a Soulsborne fan. I have earned my stripes. Okay, I'm not dying on the first boss over and over again. All right. Why do you guys think that's funny? You get it. Like, you understand. So then if I take it a step further, like if I talk about Dante's Inferno, for example, maybe you haven't played that one, but it's a complete rip of God of War. And if I start talking about what you might like versus what you might not like about that game, because we have the commonality with God of War, it is not that hard for you to take that next step for Dante's Inferno, another game my brother played. By the way, that was for you. Then if that
I threw the burn in
out,
the chat. Dante's Inferno just got burned. I just put that in the chat. It just got burned.
It wasn't bad.
I liked it. I liked it.
It was
a
good game. It was fine.
I liked
it. was
it.
the complete and utter rip.
Another hack and slash. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it was just
Andy
God of War with a
Andy
different
says he
skin.
loves that game, bro.
I know. Anyway. Got to know your audience. So then if I start talking about another game and you're not familiar with it, and I talked about it in the same way that I talked about the game you kind of know, and the way that of the game that you know, you will be more likely to believe that last conversation and take that leap of faith that I am not lying, that I'm being transparent and truthful. So I don't know if you're familiar with the transitive property of mathematics. And that is, if A equals B and B equals C, C will equal A. So if you take that same concept, I talked about something you know, then I talked about something that you kind of know and it all checks out. Then I talk about this new service or offering the same exact way, and I've built that on that common experience. It'll be more likely that somebody will trust you and believe you because you've built that chain of that chain of trust from some of these other common experiences. And I use that constantly. I'm always immersing myself in different experiences and learning new things because you never know how to build common ground with someone. And I'm always looking for that common ground and starting there. And then when that checks out, you have earned the right to take the next step of trust. So the transitive property of sales and selling will be the topic of that chapter, which again, that is an exclusive. It's an exclusive.
Marcus, your mic is muted.
Marcus,
That's 10 push-ups, Marcus.
Yeah, I muted myself a little bit. On the topic of books, Johnny, thanks for it. I appreciate that. On the topic of books, can you talk about books that you've read that helped you develop your expertise in this space?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Green Eggs and Ham. That one just crushed me.
Not the answer I thought you were gonna give.
So there's four that I mean, first of all, there are lots and lots and lots of books. And anytime you start reading a sales book or a personal development book, which I highly recommend, I recommend considering doing so to find one or two things that resonate with you, refining skills or defining skills that you already know. These are things that you may, as someone who's a communicator, already know, but didn't know how to like classify it. And also stuff that you can ignore. So there's essentially every book that I have read, for the most part, if I'm not finding content on almost every page, I don't recommend it to someone else. Like, I just read this book from a sales professional who, you know, has a terrific resume. And basically, I just had to read the first sentence of every chapter in order to understand what he was saying, right? I don't have to read that one again, and I'm not going to recommend it. However, it reminded me of skills that I already know, and I found a few nuggets in there that were nice. However, when I'm recommending books to people, these are, not to keep beating the video game cliche here, you're leveling up.
We
You're
are all
powering up.
gamers. We are all gamers. Okay, we are on Twitch right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
so
a good
I
point.
mean, any business gym is gonna hit anybody, whether you play video games or not. Like you said, the commonality of something. So it's all right.
Yeah, thank you for the compliment.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
It's like you're getting a new power when you're reading these books. And the first one that I recommend to anyone, whether you're in business or not, is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I am reading that.
I always hear that
right
from
now.
everybody.
I'm reading that right
I always hear
now.
that. It's either Think Rich and Grow. I forgot.
Think and Grow.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then it's always the other one as far as like how to win, to be liked or something like that. So shed light on what
Look
you got.
at how excited Sebastian is.
I'm reading it right now. I just finished the second chapter, or I finished the first one. If you want to, the first chapter is called "If You Want the Honey, Don't Kick Over the Beehive." I just finished it. That was chapter 1. I just finished it. It's good. It's really good.
Okay.
It's really, really
Are
good.
you reading the original or some of the rewrites?
I don't know. It's just by Dale Carnegie, right?
Yeah.
Dale Carnegie. Yeah. It's a good book. It's a good book, and it has a lot of gems in it. I think I'm reading one of the rewritten versions because he states in the foreword that like over the years they've collected a lot of information and like rehashed it. So I think I'm reading one of the rewrites. But yeah, Red, you'll love it. It's really good, and he uses really good examples. I'm somebody who, I love what you said about the gems in a book, not to hijack, but the gems in a book is like, you could already know some of this stuff, but the way the stuff is phrased helps you understand it in a more practical, fashion for you to categorize it when you're using it out there. Don't, you want the honey, don't kick the beehive. We all know that, right? But like to hear that and then get everything explained to you, it just kind of sticks and locks in a way that I really like. I'm enjoying the book, and I'm glad that if a top salesman's reading it and I'm reading it, boy, let me hit that.
It's a must read I don't know why it's not required reading at school. I truly don't. It's
they're not going to put that as required reading.
I know, and I don't know why. I have no clue why that book isn't required reading. It's like, do you want to learn the fundamentals on how to be a better person in society? So for those of you that aren't familiar, Dale Carnegie has only, been dead for 1 million years. And he was a person who researched people's behavior. And I mean, he nailed it over 100 years ago. And the stuff is still spot on accurate today. It's crazy. So basically anything from Dale Carnegie I'm in, which is why I read this other book, which is also on my list. So How to Win Friends and Influence People is not a sales book. It is a personal development, interpersonal communication book, which teaches you how to be congenial, how to be persuasive, how to conduct yourself in a way that no matter what, people leave themselves feeling good about you, feeling good about themselves, and so on and so forth. And then Dale Carnegie recommended this book from his friend. And that's why when the person who recommended it to me was a younger sales rep, he had just started. He said, Gianni, what do you think about reading this one? And I was like, let me see. And it said Dale Carnegie recommended it. So I read it immediately. And it is unbelievable. I read it before every meeting. I'll read little excerpts from it. It's How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. And it has a very generic name. And it is exactly what it means. And he gives like 30 something sales axioms, principles, suggestions. And I would say some of them have lost their luster over the last, 80 years. However, 90% of them are like, oh my God, this is just money. This is like spot on what you should be doing. And it has not been rewritten as far as I know. So some of the language is a little antiquated. It was a different world back then. However, the sales principles, specifically sales principles in there, are fantastic. And it is a very easy, quick read. And I highly recommend it to anyone. And if you're new to sales or think you're about to go into sales, and if you read that book and you're like, I can't do half these things, may want to consider, changing how you approach things, because, there's a lot in there. So, and then the next one is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So
that's always a high recommended one as well.
Yeah, I mean,
especially in college. So
Yeah, never
it's
heard
like
of
the
that.
number one book ever. Yeah.
yeah, it's great. I mean, like the seek to understand, then be understood, the actual definition of the word synergy, how to take a break, so on and so forth. How to prioritize your time, what makes something important or an urgent versus important or urgent. I mean, these are just like, and the cool part about these books is they're modular books. They're not like storybooks. Like if you flip to the last page, you're not going to find out who done it and it ruins the whole book, right? Like it's like they're training manuals to life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I highly recommend them. And then if you're looking for the last one, and the reason why this is on my list is because of the power of referrals. There's lots of books on referrals, and there's a book called Oh, by the Way, which was written for the real estate industry by Brian Buffini. And the entire book is on referrals. And the reason why I'm recommending that one, it's like 100 something pages, is because I don't care if you learn a single damn thing from that book outside of referrals are everything in your business, like that. Like when you have referrals, you bypass 95% of what we've talked about today. Like if Sebastian goes to someone and says, hey, you need to talk to Gianni about buying headsets because he's the best. And then they talk to me, I'm gonna be like, oh, Sebastian sent you. Here's a headset. It's the best. They're gonna be like, that's what I heard from Sebastian. like that's it. Like it's done. Like, okay, here's your headset. Cha-ching, like great. So, and I'm telling you right now, some of the largest deals that I've closed are because they were like, hey, you should really do business with Gianni. And then it's like, okay. And then you're like, wait a minute, did I just make a bunch of money? How long did that take? And then there's other times where you're climbing that mountain to get to the point where you have that referral. So never, ever, ever, ever forget that every sales process, in addition to creating the business relationship, if you create that personal trust, that personal brand with yourself, you have now extended that outside of that initial sales ecosystem. And if you're seeing that you're not doing that, remind yourself, why isn't that happening? Revisit that. Talk to old people that did business with you. Why did they do business with you? Those kinds of things. And ask for referrals. And just because somebody, I'm going to say that again, ask for referrals. Ask. Always ask. Hey, you got any other podcast shows that are out there? You know what I'm saying? It's like, ask for those referrals. And also, if you're not, just because you didn't do business with someone doesn't mean you can't ask for a referral. I'm telling you, sometimes it doesn't make sense to do business with someone. It doesn't. It's like, hey, this was great. I love you. You love me, but we're not doing business together. But if you know anyone, they'll be like, oh, definitely. And I have many examples of that. So again, to reiterate, how to win friends and influence people, how I raised myself from failure to success in selling, 7 habits of highly effective people, and oh, by the way. And there's a lot of other books out there. And again, anytime you're reading them, it'll teach you things that you already know, remind you of things. It will give you skills that you didn't know were out there and could be learned, or it'll be worthless, and that's fine. You wasted 2 seconds at the endeavor to find something more valuable. So, and please I recommend highlighting, rereading little excerpts, again, because you can open up a book and be like, oh, that's right. And then there's another guy, Jacko Williams, I think is his name. He writes a lot of strategic, tactical leadership books. And I recommend him as an author. I think I'm getting his last name correct. So he wrote Extreme Ownership, which isn't what you'd think it sounds like. It's not about owning a business or like really, really owning something.
Recommendations. I want to take a quick commercial break really quick and just refresh people, because I missed a chance to do this in the beginning of what success has looked like for you in your career, having followed all these principles, to make it real for people, why it is that this is important. These are important steps to follow, philosophies to really kind of, live by, help people understand what that's meant to you in your career.
So at its core, it means that I will always have a job that's highly paid. So that's the first. I will always be able to bet on myself and win. I will always be able to be dropped anywhere where business can be done and do business, provided that I know what it is that can be done. So what it has meant to me is the unwavering confidence that I will always be successful. And I have a whole section on overcoming failure, which we can talk about. Basically, when you're doing these things and you're refining your skills and you continue to sharpen your skills, you rank up in the business world. And that's one of the things that has helped me. And then you will be the person that people want to do business with because you have this wealth of trust, good faith, goodwill, an emotional bank account beyond belief, and people gravitate towards that, and then people come to you. And what that has meant to me is it was not, a linear journey. I'm sure, and no one's here, like very few people in life get to like take one swing of the axe, strike oil, and then just, build a refinery on top.
And boom.
I was almost fired from the job that I currently have because I was not doing a good job. And then I kept reworking, kept revisiting things, kept learning.
Was you told you wasn't doing a good job, or that's something that you actually observed?
So that's a fair question. So I was doing almost a good job, right? But sales is a performance-based industry. Performance meaning when the lights are on and the camera is rolling, if you don't deliver, you don't succeed. And you can do all of the other things correctly and not do a few things correctly. And it's like if you were to paint a wall and then all of a sudden the paint just falls off the wall, right? It's like sales is the only industry where that can happen. You know what I mean? It's like you
make
can't
a break.
Look back. Yeah, right. So I was, well, I'm sorry your sales aren't working out for you, Marcus. And that's the whole thing, is like, you have to try to do that. So I was looking at what I was doing wrong, and I can now easily point back to what I was doing wrong. And that's a much deeper conversation, which I'm more than happy to have at a later date. I mean, I can go on and on and on about where I made improvements. And then I basically looked at all the things I was doing well in comparison to others, all the things I was doing wrong, and all the things where I was like, well, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I'm just going to change it. F it, right? And after that, like literally things started changing. And the last 3 years, I've hit between 150 to 200% of target to attainment. And I finished number one globally, number one in the US last year, number two globally, one of those three each of the last 3 years. And during the pandemic was my best year. During the pandemic. Now, I'm very fortunate and thankful to be working for a stable company and a company that does business online, because I was able to take, my skills and not miss thing. I know that other industries, it doesn't matter how good you are. If you were in certain industries, you were crushed. So I'm in the gaming world, I'm in the technology world, and I'm very fortunate for that. And because of what I was doing up to that point, it allowed for that to happen. And then the building to that, I was in another industry altogether where I was cutting my teeth. Literally, I was handed a book where it was like, here's the attorneys we want you to call. Start calling them. That happened. And I was like, I'm going to do that. Yeah. My name's Gianni. You're going to talk to me about this. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about click. Oh, shit. So, and then, I did that for about 3 years where I was like basically in a bunker. And then I got recruited to this job to where I'm at and it's been a terrific experience. And I couldn't convert. I wasn't converting business. I wasn't finding the right people. I wasn't asking the right questions. I wasn't doing lots of things. So, it was a combination of, I was following good principles, but not good business. And now I do training for my company. I do sales training routinely. And I'm very thankful to be doing something like this. And, essentially when you're trying to create relationships with Global 2000 companies, you have to have it together. Like you can't just show up and not have it all together. And when I do business in other areas, it is a little bit more relaxed. And I'm very happy for that, because I overall am a very relaxed person till the lights go on. Then I'm like, okay. And there's a lot of prep that goes into that, which I wanted to address. So, I hope that answered your question, Marcus.
I could see, because like you're in presentation mode. So you're like, boom, I'm gonna just hit this switch on and just go.
Hey, you gotta prepare.
We would sit down, so we're like, yeah, Red, because but I can tell by like how you are right now. This is go time, and you're really trying to like inform.
I appreciate that. Yeah, there's definitely like people, when they get to know you more, they tend to appreciate like you on the football field and off the field, right? Like, for those of you that know Ndamukong Suh, he's one of my favorite like athletes to like look at, because off the field, he's like this lovable teddy bear that everybody loves. On the field, he's just vicious and totally different person. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to go into a sales meeting and start killing people. That's not it. But it's like, you have to be prepared. You have to be precise. You have to know why you're there. You can't take someone's time and not provide content and value back. When you do that, you have lost trust. And when you lose trust, you've lost the deal. You've lost the room. And there's lots of conversations to be had around that. So I do have a section on overcoming failure that I thought would be valuable. And this is a good segue, because essentially success is born in the fortress of failure. And I'm pretty sure virtually anyone that's at the top or approaching the top of what they're doing would agree with that. So is that a good topic to transition into, or was there another question, Marcus, or anyone else?
It is. I have a quick question that we got in from LinkedIn from James.
Sure.
It says, do you have any tips or recommendations for someone who may just be starting a career in sales? I'm 19 and I may be taking on a junior sales role in technology space soon.
Yeah,
you may have already answered that, but if you have just some.
Yeah. So I have a lot of suggestions and tips. The first is tune into the Eat for Life podcast, because there are gems here all the frickin' time. And yes, that is a shameless plug for my friend Sebastian.
I hit the air horn. You guys can't hear it, but they hear it. You heard that. He said it. The sales master said it.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now. And James, I want you to know that when you start out a career in business development and sales, the very first thing that I highly recommend you do is steep yourself in good habits. Steep yourself in them. Learn from the top people in the industry. This goes back to a different topic that I wanted to discuss, which is building your professional network. So James and anyone else, and this is at any level, I recommend having someone at the top of that industry that you try to learn about and emulate, somebody that's a little bit lower, so on and so forth, right? And that's who you should be looking after. Learn how those people became successful. The good news is, in business development and sales, these people wrote books, like Zig Ziglar, for instance, right? Like, he's got like 1 million books. Like, he has a book called The Secret of Closing the Sale, which I love the word secret when it pertains to sales, which is one of the freaking, people are like, why is it a secret? It's like, it's not a secret. Just read the book. And then, like, for example, the book, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. That's a must read, James. That's a must read. Like, for you, you're getting into sales, it's a must read. And learn about good sales principles. Learn how to ask questions. Learn how to think analytically while you're talking to people. Acquire interpersonal relationship skills. Find out the ones that you don't have and build on them. Have a growth mindset. Okay, a growth mindset means that you are always going to be evolving and changing and improving your life and those around you, building people up. And if you continue to do that at where you're at right now, by the time you're 30, you're going to be light years ahead of the people that didn't. And you're on an exciting path. So I hope that is a great start to your journey there. And feel free to shoot me questions if you'd like. I'm on LinkedIn a lot.
Marcus calls us the personal consulting podcast. We give you free consulting, and now you got hooked in with a top salesperson. You better call Gianni.
I'm around. I can get back sometimes quickly, sometimes not, and always be understanding of people's time and schedules. Mark, like, when I leave notes for Marcus, he's a busy guy. Gets to it eventually. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. Anytime you're building a network,
I try.
Like, that's one of the things that I have noticed is, like, because LinkedIn is so like instantaneous, you can't take anything personally when people don't get back to you right away. I highly recommend that as a skill to learn at that age. At any age, people should really be learning that. So one of the things that is a challenge in any industry is overcoming failure. And in sales, I highly recommend looking at it, and you'll hear the analogy all the time. It's a lot like baseball. Now, one of the things that I don't like about baseball is when you're out, that's viewed as a negative. Okay. The difference in sales is when you're out, you have an opportunity to improve. And just because you didn't succeed in terms of conversion doesn't mean you didn't succeed in terms of building your network, learning more about your product, learning more about how to be a better salesperson, or any of the other myriad things you could have learned in that time frame. And Red, you asked the question, like, did I view myself as doing a bad job? Failure needs to be identified. You could have converted a deal and failed everywhere and just so happened to be successful. And if you don't review what you did, where you went wrong, I always point the finger at myself first. What happened? Where can I improve? Can it be identified? What is failure? Is failure closing the deal but burning a bridge? Is failure not closing the deal? Is failure not in my world? If I close a deal and don't create a referral out of that, I didn't succeed to the degree that I want. And then other aspects of failure are, I mean, for example, I was not approaching business correctly. So I had to learn from my own failures very, very quickly, or else I wasn't going to have a job anymore. And it would have been for, sales conversion reasons, which, by the way, if you can't convert sales and you were let go for that, it shatters confidence when you're going to the next role. And you can't be like, well, why did you leave that company? You'd be like, well, I just wasn't closing anything. Just don't read my resume. So these are all things that you're looking at. Is it a failure that, you're repeating? Is it a one-time? Can you learn from other people? And then this is where I see failure in sales. This is the one that is definitely sales specific. I've never heard this phrase. It is another exclusive, and that's iterative failure. Okay. So that's where you literally have to keep failing in order to learn the next stage of failure for that thing. So a video game analogy, you can't die on level 2 unless you've died on level 1. Right? Like you can't even die on level 2 unless you beat level 1, right? Like you can't get to level 4 if you didn't find the sword of truth. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. So in sales, it's the same way. So it's like, just because I failed, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm all the way down the mountain. Like, it's like, okay, well, I got to get good at this thing and be open and transparent with the people that are succeeding at those things in order to learn quickly. So for me, what I was doing is one of the things that I was doing is I thought I was talking to a buyer. Doesn't that seem like something a salesperson should be doing? Talking to a buyer? Well, let me tell you something, folks. If you're not talking to a buyer, you ain't shit. You are not a seller. You are nothing. So it's like, how do you identify a buyer? That's where I was failing. How to identify a buyer? I obviously was identifying someone that talked to me. But that's great. That's awesome. That's not a buyer. So that was one spot very specifically where I failed. And there are many ways to identify buyers. And a buyer is different. Like, for example, is someone a sponsor? Is someone actually going to sponsor you? Just because they have the power to sponsor you doesn't mean they're going to, which means you're not talking to a buyer. You're talking to someone, which may lead to other things. So that's like part of that iterative failure where like you have to figure out how to do those things and then convert. So that is one aspect of, you have to keep getting up. I can't even begin to tell you life in sales. And James, this is another little bit for you and another exclusive. Life in sales is living on that stock ticker line. Okay. When you look at a stock ticker line, right? Like the stock market, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, and it goes up. And like over time, you're like, oh, well, look at that. It went up. That's great. Everything's great. When you live that line and all of a sudden it starts to go down and you're like, well, how far down does it go? I don't know. Does it go down forever?
Anxiety.
Is it a straight line? What's
anxiety?
What's going on?
It's anxiety.
It's awful. So when you're doing those things, this is where business principle comes in. And this is what I did at the beginning of the pandemic as well. I saw the stock ticker, my life, over that hill, and I was staring into the abyss. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to build a spring down there. I'm going to build a little spring so that when I hit it, I bounce way up. And you have to know and trust in all the correct things that you're doing, that no matter what, it will come. Your life in sales will come back. It will. And if it keeps going down, you got to figure out why. but know that if you do all the right things, and then you're going to get that one break, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm freaking Wolf of Wall Street. Don't do Wolf of Wall Street stuff. But for whatever reason, that's like the poster child for all things successful in sales. I see it all the time, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're going to tell me that this dude who literally stole millions of dollars, that's why people hate salespeople. That's why people hate corporate sales, like corporate environment, because of this guy. But I will tell you right now, it does make for good content. All right, folks.
Good movie, great movie, but don't do it like him.
Don't do it. Don't do it. But do some of the stuff.
Speaking of books, I've been hesitant to read. He has a book called the Straight Line of Persuasion, Jordan Belfort, and I've just been like hesitant to read it because I'm like, this guy's gonna teach me how to like rip off hedge accounts. Like, yo, this is what you need to do if you want to live a life with a Ferrari every day. Like, all you
gotta do is steal it.
And I'm sure there's gems. Yeah, I'm sure there's gems in there. But it's funny what you say about that impact of no like trust. Leonardo DiCaprio has probably decayed his book sales because I'm like, man, I will be doing cocaine and driving Ferraris if I read this book.
So I know you were doing an unwrapping, and I want to make sure we have time for that. So there's a couple of things that I really want to make sure we hit before we change gears dramatically. So one of the things that I highly recommend doing when you're talking to people, and the first is asking predominantly open-ended questions. Okay, I don't recommend asking yes or no questions unless you know the answer to the question and it builds a case. So everybody right now, if you're in sales, watch one of the real juicy episodes of, Law and Order, where they're like talking about stuff, or like, a lawyer is interrogating someone. They're asking questions to build a case for what they're doing. So what you're doing is you're asking questions like, how are you currently handling your engagement with students at a university? Right? How are you currently doing that? That's an open-ended question. What are you currently doing to engage new technology? Take me through your process for engaging new providers. So you start doing all those things, and then you get a clear picture of what a company is or isn't doing, and then you come in for the kill. Are you engaging your students the way that you want to? No. You know the answer. They have to say no at that point. They have to, or otherwise they will sound ridiculous. And they won't do that, I promise. And if they do say yes, then you're like, well, then we're done here. And they're like, whoa. You know what I mean? So you ask yes or no questions for some very specific closing moments. Do not start any conversation with a yes or no question. It's abrupt. You don't deserve to ask that question. It's like, do you think you're doing great with your school? Who the hell's answering that? Like, yeah, we're doing awesome. Get the F out.
That's like the first simple one-on-one thing of any sales is like, do not ask questions like that.
Don't ask questions like that. Yeah, that's honestly, Red. That's why I wanted to say it. Like that's like the thing that people should know. Ask open-ended questions that build a case for what you're doing. And then you've created intrigue. You've created a problem. They don't engage properly. They don't have a process for this. They don't know which technology provider to pick. They don't know how to spend their dollars. But hey, they can work with MetaArena. You know what I'm saying? That's how you can then create closing questions, create a closing argument to either secure buy-in or get the sale. So the last is buy-in versus a closed one. When you're in a point of sale, obviously they want to sign the agreement right in front of you. When you're doing something like a platform service or something larger, you have to get buy-in first, which is that like, trust, confidence, so on and so forth. Then use passionate persistence, consistently providing them additional value, consistently providing them deliverables to then deploy the service, which is essentially what you're doing. You've created a business relationship between your company and another company. And that is business development and how sales interacts with that. And I have left out like 1,000 bullet points. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them my way. I'll turn it back over to Sebastian and Marcus.
That was excellent, Gianni. I appreciate you doing that. And definitely we need to have a follow-up conversation. So like a level 2, right? Because there's so much information that you didn't have time to cover. And obviously this was full of gems. So first and foremost, thank you for your time and being a guest here.
You're welcome. This is great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that
Now
there's a lot
we're
of
gonna go
practical
open
stuff.
some packs.
There's a lot of
Sorry,
practical
Marcus is
information.
lagging again.
Yeah, Marcus is a little behind, but we're really grateful for you coming through, Gianni. Thank you so much. We believe if you got it, you should flaunt it, and you really flaunted some of that knowledge of like sales and just kind of like the practical stuff. You even gave that list of books, and I'm just glad to know I'm reading one of them, so I know I'm on the right track.
You're reading the one that's the
joints.
one. If you're gonna read one, it's that one.
Yeah, I'm reading that joint, man. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm glad to know that I'm on the right track. But I know Marcus wants to open packs. Marcus, you gonna open this pack with us so we could see? You can see it. It's a pretty.
I don't have any packs, and I'm jealous.
I don't either. I wasn't even allowed to. I wasn't even allowed to buy it.
I got $25 on that damn thing. I'm like, yo, I want to spend it on a pack, and I don't have jack.
Well,
bars.
I have one, but I have two accounts because I did it on my phone. Because Marcus will hit me up and be like, "Bro, you gotta get in line now." So when I jumped on my phone, it's not on the same Google account as my computer. So I have the pack that they gave everybody, because they gave everybody like this sorry, you're not smart enough to get the good pack. Here's a pack we're giving everybody.
I didn't even get that. So what's the problem?
Damn, that's crazy. Pack. I got that one, but it's in my other account. So Marcus, you're gonna open that tonight. I can't get into the account with that sentimental value pack. But
wow, I didn't even get that.
Is that the one you're opening?
Yeah, that's the one I'm opening. It was a pre-order pack. So normally, like, if you don't get in line in time, you miss out, right? And even if you do get in line in time, what they do is when it opens up, they do like a
random general R&D type, like an R&D type of thing.
Right. And then depending on where you land, you may or may not be in line and close enough to get the pack. This one, they did a pre-order. So as long as you got in line within this 3 or 4 hour block, you were guaranteed the opportunity to pre-order this pack.
Thanks for telling us. Would have been nice.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
I did.
I know. Marcus has been like,
he's proud. He's like, I did.
Something, and I didn't get jack diddly of any squats.
Get that on my desk, please.
Hey, can you give me screen sharing privileges on this?
I got you.
You're gonna share your goods. You're gonna share them. So NFTs are a hot topic right now, as you may or may not be aware. And I'm putting together, and Marcus, I think I sent you a note about this. I'm putting together a legal technology or a legal approach, like with a law firm, on how to protect these kinds of things, because you got lawyers out there that are like, what's an NFT? I don't understand. Is that like some kind of digital asset? I don't understand. It's just a picture. It's just a screenshot. They don't talk like that.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty good jargon. That was pretty good for someone. And even if they didn't understand, they were pretty right about it. Is it a digital asset? Yes. Well, yes, it is.
Why, yes, it is.
Well, yes, it is. Continue.
Don't Google digital asset. You'll get like 70,000 different.
That's true. That's true.
So many different things.
The newest form of digital asset. Speaking of which, man, I like this opening process. So, Gianni, if you haven't seen this yet, and all of you out there on LinkedIn, Twitch, worldwide, YouTube, this is a dope process, man. I got to say, I really like the process of when you open these packs. So, with no further ado, I'll let Marcus take it over because this is hot.
Go. One pack.
Oh.
I don't know why it's not loading all the way, but we're going to open it up anyway.
I feel like I'm in the Kazaa days when I'm downloading something I wasn't supposed to.
Newgrounds.
I haven't heard that in so long.
Newgrounds.
Marcus just got it.
Okay, here we go. Hold tight.
Should we announce this like eSports style? And Marcus is unwrapping the pack. What's it going to be? It's a common, but you never know what's going to be in it.
What's going to be in it? You never know. No whammy. Series 2 release 21. Oh, baby.
Here we go.
All right, here's the first moment.
There it is. It's
an assist. But who's doing it? Robert Covington. Okay.
Funny, y'all, I play sousaphone. I'm marching the band.
Became an all-star.
Shit about sports.
Okay.
First moment.
You got a Robert Covington pass. Seems like he was sitting on the ground. That was pretty cool.
See, now you got to take a screenshot of this.
Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Yeah, I like Bogdan Bogdanovic. I like him.
You got the lay. Got a little lay. Okay.
Oh, I think it's a different player I'm thinking of. I like Boran Bogdanovic, I guess. Oh, Evan Fournier.
Evan Fournier.
It's a layup.
Johnny, what these are is the video clip. They tell you what game it's from, the date, and then if you what the serial number is. So they have 35,000 of these cards, this specific instance, and then this number is 24,206.
It's a pretty exclusive card right there.
What makes something exclusive? Like just like how cards, people can set a demand. What makes something a demand on these NFTs to like okay, because it could be something that is common and can still hold some value. Like, but why?
So I'm happy to chime in on that. Or Marcus, did you want to answer that?
Go ahead because my audio is bugging.
Okay, so essentially, you nailed it. Like, what makes something exclusive or limited? So there's 35,000 of these, so quite a few of that specific thing, and then even more of things just like that. However, they have smaller and smaller versions of it. So if you think about some of the very expensive ones, as let's say like a Van Gogh, right? Like there's paintings from Van Gogh that go for millions and millions and millions of dollars. So there's people that are the demand is, for whatever reason, occurring right now for some of these. I don't exactly know why. So Sebastian and Marcus or Derek, you may be able to chime in.
However, I know of course, supply and demand. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, okay, this is someone who is second string and they made this one little assist, but it's going for a high. Like of course, like I'm a sneakerhead. I collect all different types of things like pop figures and stuff. And a lot of times you'll have a common pop figure that wasn't exclusive, but out of nowhere it's exclusive now, or it's it's not common anymore because it got vaulted or because they didn't make that.
That's what I was going to say. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, on here, what's popping on here with that?
It's the same thing.
And that's it. Yeah, that's it. They're only going to make certain cards are only getting 10,000 made. So there's more than see the lines be having 223,000 people in it. So the value is up because people want the card and there's only 8,000 of them. So it's like people are setting the market when they're putting that first one in the marketplace. People are setting the market. Someone's saying, "Hey, I'll start at 4,500." They're only going to go up from 4,500 because the first person out of the 8,000 who have it put 45,000 or 4,500 rather, and then it's only going to go up from there. It's people who are setting those base prices. And if there's not a lot of cards, it don't matter if it's common or not. There's not a lot of it.
That was the one thing I'm like, okay, I understand things as tangible that get, put up for demand, and you could set the demand for it. I was like, how is it done with NFTs? So, okay.
Yeah, it's like the second the car drives off the lot, it all of a sudden has more value because now, like that card is now in a tangible, tradable ecosystem, as opposed to before that specific one. You had to get in line to get it, and Marcus nailed it. And now he can sell that. And if somebody's like, okay, well, I'm like 500,000th in line, or someone who may not ever want to wait in line can go and buy that one specific thing.
Right.
One of the things you can see here, you probably already mentioned this again, my internet connection is not stable, but they have limited editions. So they made 12,000 of this one card, but this one has at least 35,000. And that plus means there's a very good chance they're going to release more of them in the future. This one for sure is only 12,
limited. Okay.
And then if you look at the challenges, this is the only thing's in the way. 1 second. You look at the challenges; those are even more rare because they don't even mint those to be distributed. Let me go find it.
Yeah, you explained that the other day, and that did make it more valuable. Those challenge cards,
right? So like this one. So the only way you can get this specific card is if you own the 5 cards in this challenge, and you have 17 days and 16 hours to do that. You have to acquire either through opening up a pack or going to the marketplace these 5 cards. Once this timer counts to 0, if and only if you have all 5, then they will mint a copy of this card for you, and only the people who met that condition. So there may be 1,000 of them. There may be like 14.
That's a biconditional statement to go along with your equals B equals C, Gianni. I learned that as the law of syllogism, and what goes paired with that, what Marcus just said, is a biconditional statement. If and only if you have this. So a little bit of that geometry.
It's a little discrete math. That's a little discrete math.
It is some discrete math. You can talk in some code now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's where it ends. So I'll be contacting you. You want to talk about sales? Hi, introduce me to Gianni.
Mellow Ball has
coding. Plug me in with Marcus.
$4,300 card.
So here's the marketplace, just to go back to what Gianni and Sebastian were saying. So people go in here and they list the cards after they get them, and the prices, it's supply and demand. So if there's 590 listings and the lowest ask is $6, you have to pay at least $6 if you want this card. Right. And there may be more. It may go up to, $500,000. Let's see. The top sell for this card was $1,298, but the lowest now available is $6.
So the person who paid the $1,298, that's where I'm confused. It's like there must have not been any other people out there selling it, because now it's going for it. But I guess that's like anything. It's like Gianni said with the ticker. Like maybe 2 weeks ago, that card didn't release.
Or did they do that on purpose? See, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know how like when somebody will set the price high on purpose for something to then drive the market. Like, was that done with this on purpose so then that car can then start going higher and higher?
Yeah, I don't understand that. Is that serial number like that is the 20,000?
Yeah, like.
See, because I thought it was going to be like a high digit one, right? Like a.
Yeah, like a lower number. You mean like number 6 or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm
maybe
like.
Dizzy 69's like kid got on here and like.
Killed it. Killed the market. That's crazy. Because what also confuses me a little bit is that it's like they made that sale at March 14th on 12:26 a.m. but someone bought it for $283 on March 13th.
On the same day.
Even the day before, they bought it for $283. So how did this person throw? I guess maybe the only logic I could find is if people are desperate to make those challenges, like, I gotta have all these 5 cards. I only have an hour left on my, like I only have an hour left. I gotta get it. Whatever price is there, it is. And if people already sold the 465, 283, 36, 555, if those are all gone and all I have is the 1298, and to get that one card I want in the challenge, gotta pay that 1298. It's the market.
I don't know. Could be something.
I could have multiple accounts though, and fake all this shit. I can pay myself $2,000.
You used to be able to have multiple accounts, but they banned that on March 1st. So from when they launched, and I guess somewhere between June and October, and up to 2 weeks ago, you could have multiple accounts.
Yeah, they stopped even letting new people in.
That's what I mean. Something illegal could be going on. Like not that one specifically.
Like if me and you have one, and I buy one off of you for $2,000.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Or if you're trying to drive up the price, yeah, that's what I mean. Like something fraudulent.
Well,
I don't know.
Well,
the cool thing about it though is you can see exactly who's doing that, right? So I can go to Dizzy69's account here and then go see like
who he's been trading.
I see a bunch of stuff here.
Challenges. Paid too much for a card.
Paid way too much for a card challenge. You completed.
Don't understand numbers well.
Completed.
Challenge complete.
What you can do is go back and like keep track of these individuals, right? Because it's a ledger. So you have access to all transactions happening on the platform. So if you constantly see like this particular player paying this amount or selling for this amount, and maybe someone else is buying it, if you can see that information, then maybe there is some collusion happening, because that definitely is an outlier.
Wow, I totally understand. Well, I definitely
it's probably a job position that they're trying to fill. Somebody that sits there and goes through that shit and keeps up with that.
It's a need. There's a need for it, because they just had to shut down all those bots because people were doing it. So, and I don't suspect that it's over. I feel like anytime something gets stopped, people try to find a workaround. So they are hiring too. They're really hiring a lot of people. Actually, they are. Like they're hiring a ton of people. They're making it very public on those streams. When you wait in line, there's a stream that comes on while you wait, and they're like open about how like much they're hiring. They're hiring. So that's a good point, Derek. They are, and that's probably something they're hiring for, is things like that, because The market's still really strange right now. I don't feel comfortable trading any of my cards. I'm keeping my cards. I don't feel like doing nothing with my cards yet because I don't understand how I might get 283 or I might get 1298. Same card. So on the same day, it's not like it's like 6 months later and everybody's got all 20,000 cards and I only have 5 that are remaining out there. It's like this was like 12 hours apart. So I don't really understand it yet, but I definitely am excited about it. And anything that builds excitement and people are spending real money, you know, Gianni will tell you, hey, sales is about who's there, who's in the market, and you know, who's ready to take action. And people are definitely taking action on Top Shot right now. There's no question people are taking action. So I'm excited about it.
So a Eat for Life gym would be to go ahead and work for them since they're hiring, to be on the ground floor figuring out how this game is working.
Yeah.
Well, they did release $250 million at a $2 billion valuation. So whatever those stock options are,
they're probably really good. They're probably really good. Yeah, great gem. Great gem. Let me give you.
I'm gonna get off the phone with Top Shot. Yeah, I'll be in tomorrow for the interview. Thank you.
For real. Well, anything else from our incredible guest, our incredible host? We're at the end of our time for the night, but I feel like this was another great episode. And
thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming. It was incredible. I mean, it was everything I expected and more. And I learned a lot about sales. I learned a little bit more about the Top Shot market. I mean, what else could I ask for? What an incredible episode. And starting next week, I want to plug Eat for Life, the course. I'm starting free trainings on Sunday. It'll be after, so it'd be like around now, after the podcast or before. I haven't decided yet, but stay tapped in. As we start doing free training on sales funnels, sales. I'm going to take some of the gems I just got from Gianni and give them back to you. So come through. They're absolutely free. So you continue learning this stuff. And that's it on my end. Anything else from you guys?
I had the episode drop on Friday from the 2-minute drill that I had the pitch competition back in December with David Meltzer and his team. So if you all haven't seen that, you can watch it for free. It's on Amazon Prime Video and also on Bloomberg TV.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, I loved it. I love when you present because you have so much passion, but you sound like a really well-oiled robot. And I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong, but you're always like, Met Arena has been.
I think I can do it. Can I try? Can I do
Try
it?
it.
Hi, my name is Marcus eSports Howard. I'm the CEO of Met Arena. You may know me from my previous projects on Projects MQ. We help indie gamers become discovered so that we can distribute their content in a family-friendly environment.
Oh my God! Why is he doing the whole thing? It's true.
I have seen so much, Marcus.
It's true. It's true. It's good though. It's really good.
It is. You know what it is. They liked it.
Even though, yeah, I liked it because I liked it because by the end of it, I feel like okay, like even if I did, that's the thing I test is like if I did not know him at all, 0, would I have understood? And I answer that every time. So keep doing what you're doing, baby. We love it. I just tease you a little bit because I know how you be talking, and then on that you be talking like the well-oiled robot. The well-oiled robot. Listen, anything from Red or D? What y'all got? Anything going on? Anything we should know about?
Well, as far as my series, I'm going to be dropping the Uncovering Black Women in eSports series that I'm doing. So that'll be coming out this week. I have some really dope guests on there, from Jess Davis to the second woman ever drafted into the NBA 2K League, Elena Haney, aka DJ Lay. Interviewed her, Professor High Cake, and Cuddlecore. So yeah, it's a lot of dope women that is going to be uncovered, and can't wait to drop that.
You already got sponsors for that?
I need sponsors for it. So everybody that is interested, I need sponsors for sure. But as far as this episode, what I wanted to say too, because a lot of people, when they hear the word sales, they kind of like apprehensive to want to learn something from it. But you also got to sell yourself too. So in some way, not in a bad way, okay? Not in the crazy. We're not talking the streetwalkers way. We're talking about actually pitching yourself.
That's what I said. What do you think?
Actually, like pitching yourself for different things and different opportunities. There's a lot to learn from, in sales, period, even with that. So I was listening to a lot of things you were saying, Gianni, that can be for even common people on different goals they're trying to achieve as well. So
thank you. I agree wholeheartedly.
Love it. Love everything about it. Love everything about it. Yeah, there you go. Give us that Maiorano, that Italian kiss. That's what this episode was. The chef's kiss on this episode. What a great episode. Thank you guys for coming through as always. And we'll see you in about 6 days and 23 hours. That's my new outro. What do you think about that? See you about 6 days, 23 hours at the next episode of Eat for Life. All right? Dropping gems all the time. See you on the next one. Later.
Peace.
We're in there. Good job, guys. Great job. What a great episode. That one, I got life. I came into this episode really tired, and now I left with a lot of life. So that's Eat for Life. Well done. Well done, Gianni. Nice touch with the fire, the shirt, the props, everything. Well done.
PS4.
Red, I liked how you chimed in with the sponsorpitch.com. That was a gem. I find myself probably looking through that part of the episode later. Marcus, way to stay there, even though your internet connection did not. Yeah, you stayed. Your connection did not. So that was cool. You guys both didn't leave us. Just one.
I'm done.
Just one. You stayed. And D, thank you for providing such a background that just gives us the credibility that we need. He just has a background that gives us the credibility that we are important. That can't be understated. Because I left my closet open behind me, and I was thinking the whole time, like, they're like, who is this dude? But he's got the light down there, so their eyes probably hit that, and they're like, okay, they're cool.
I'm upset. Sponsor pitch used to be free. I used this a long time ago. It used to be free, but now they talking about start your 24-hour trial, free trial.
Yeah, a lot of those sites, right? Once they build their data up, once all those sites build their data up, man, they that's how they do, because they know they got enough for you to make money right away when you start interacting with them, if you know what you're doing. Like, so you know what you're doing, so you're exactly who they're not trying to get for free. They're like, she knows how to come in here and get $1 million worth of game in 3 hours.
I need some sponsorships. I only got one.
Well, you got a bunch of gems from Gianni today. You already know that. I'm glad I'm reading that book, man, because I'm glad you said that, because I'm reading that right now. It's so crazy, and I've been really liking it. I would suggest it's practical. A lot of the books I read, I don't like. I just want you to know, the last book I read before that was The Gucci Mane Guide to Greatness. Okay.
And how was that?
Gucci's not what you would call a thespian, but he does have great points. I'd say the biggest takeaway from a man who spent 4 or 5 years in jail, was almost murdered, and this year made a $2 million appearance on Instagram on the Verses with the same person who tried to murder him 15 years ago. That's friend. That's what brought me. His friend. Well, collusion, whatever you want to call it. Jeezy's people tried to kill Gucci Mane, and now 15 years later they got paid $2 million by Apple to rap old songs. And I thought, now there's a book I'll read, because I don't know what it must be like to be like, in real time, these guys kicked in my door and tried to kill me years ago, but now I'm on stage with this guy across and we're making money. So I thought, and Gucci Mane just made a huge transformation, such a big transformation, people thought he was a clone. So like, he made that big of a transformation. You're always
gonna get some. I forgot about his book, and also 50 and some other people, but of course, especially guys that lived in the street life of hustling, is definitely, they share a lot of commonality with corporate.
Yeah, like, made a lot of
the same thing. It's not different at all. Like, it's
made a lot of transition.
The same stuff.
Made a huge transition, and I thought I would read it. And the number one takeaway I would say is the value is self-accountability is a gift. If you start looking at self-accountability as a gift, you can really start separating people for who they are. easier. Like when you get around people who cannot have that same kind of accountability that you have, or even people, your peers. A lot of times we're very similar to our peers. If you don't have self-accountability, or you don't associate with people with self-accountability, then you can't recognize it. But if you do have it, you immediately recognize people are making excuses, people are making cop-outs, people are making, and that's what, if you see somebody and they say, I'm going to lose weight, they don't have to lose the whole 50 pounds, right? I'm losing 50 pounds. If they look better, they just look better, right? In 6 months. If you see them in 6 months. Adversely, if you see them in 6 months and they gained weight, everything about their perception, you're just going to look at like, and it's true. It's subconscious. It's like, okay, now when you tell me anything else, I'm kind of just got to take a grain of salt with that because you told me no matter what, you're losing all this weight, right? Like no matter what, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this no matter what. And then you see them and they did the opposite or they did nothing. Even if, and there's two versions of that. If you've seen their habits, then you're like, okay, this guy's not taking it serious by their habits. But if you don't see them, you separate for 6 months and you come back, it's even more profound because you're like, you definitely didn't do what you said you were going to do. So self-accountability.
So that concept, that's what extreme ownership is about, that book that I mentioned. So the extreme ownership is that you have extreme ownership of everything in your life.
Right.
It is on you. Not that you own it, but that you are the one.
Right.
So that's a whole book on that concept.
Yeah, self-accountability. That was I'd say the number one thing if you wanted to read it. It's a short read. It's not very long. In fact, Gucci knows that we like pictures. So it's just lots of pictures of him doing baller shit.
So is it like an autobiography?
Is that meaning it's written by somebody else? Because Soren Baker wrote it.
So it's So that's, whenever I'm reading a biography or an autobiography, the perspective is what I'm trying to gain.
And that's why I wanted to get it, because I'm like, this guy in 2005 was 150 pounds heavier, selling drugs, doing drugs, and almost being murdered, to now being uber successful legally and doing things the right way. And I just really took away that self-accountability thing. He's like, the first thing that changed my life was when I stopped blaming, when I went to prison for the third and final time, I finally stopped blaming everybody else. And I thought, that's the last thing I did was just I'm not going to blame everybody else. I'm going to say, what can I do to, eliminate this part of my life? And everything began to change from there. And you just look again, you look at him, he always points to himself and his fitness as an example. He's like, look at me. People don't even think I'm real. They think I'm a clone. It's because they can't even fathom somebody changing their entire formality of life so much that they think they got to make up some shit. Like he's a clone. He's not even real. They replaced him. They replaced him. He's not even real. And that just goes to show you how much a gift self-accountability is. And I'll transition into this as my last words is, everybody here has self-accountability. So I'm glad that I associate people with self-accountability, because now when you start looking out in the street at people, walking by people, and you see little things, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is or if I listen to somebody and I'm talking to them on a sales call or a regular call, and they start making excuses, they start blaming other shit, they start doing, I'm like, yeah, I used to think everybody has it, right? I used to be like, everybody can do it. It's self-accountability. But then I start to see now, I'm able to decipher right down the middle. I'm like, yeah, if I see a trend of you not doing it, it's like, damn, you don't have self-accountability. Maybe it'll come later.
You're out. I won't work.
Yeah. I categorize you, right? Or I categorize you.
Arm's length. It's arm's length.
Yeah, exactly. No exactly. It's just you don't have it. You're gonna, and I can't continue this journey with you if you can't instill that in yourself, because that's what it takes. So that was a great thing of the book. But I'm excited because I'm reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he does have some really practical things. My favorite thing so far is you can only get people to do something if they want to do it, right? They want to do it. You can't. There's only one way to get people to do something if they want to do it. And the great example on a street level, right, which is my background, so I'm able to connect there, is he's like, think about if you want somebody to give you their watch. If you stick a gun in their ribs, they're gonna real quickly want to give you their watch.
And it's unfortunate because that's how a lot of salespeople got sales back in the day, is because them wanting to do business with you was actually a way for them to get you to leave them alone, and they wanted that. Right.
It's true. So, they only want that. You made them want something, but the sale was just a byproduct.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. And when you want me to revisit and rejoin again, I've seen portions of some of the shows. You guys are awesome. I really love what you're doing and succeeding at doing. So thank you very much for having me on the show. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend. And I look forward to seeing more content.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna try to chop up these gems tonight, and you left a lot of gems. So I'm sure as I upload it, my mind is already like, yeah, there's like 2 or 3 things I know are gonna go out. So hopefully I find more, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for coming back, and we'd love to have you back on the show. Thank you for coming on. We'd love to have you coming back, and have a good night, my man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone.
All right.